Enjoy the game.
Fenway Park. All that tradition, all that history, all tonight on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. A heated rivalry with deep roots. But now, one team way up, the other way down. It's the rubber match of the three-game series. It's the Yankees and the Red Sox. Boston is doing everything well, sitting atop the American League East by plenty, as summer is about to begin. Tonight, unbeaten Josh Beckett will take the hill, looking to improve on his impressive 8-0 record. Is he now among the league's elite starters? We'll discuss that. The Yankees counter with an ace of their own, left-hander Andy Pettitte. Joe Morgan will analyze how the veteran must attack the potent Boston lineup. Also, what will the impact of the injury to Roger Clemens be for the struggling Yankees as they try and rebound from their worst start in the Joe Torre era? And with slugger Jason Giambi now on the disabled list, how will the Yankees fill his shoes? Peter Gammons introduces the top names in the rumor mill as the summer trade winds begin to blow. All of that next on the National Game of the Week. It's ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell. And all of the heat and humidity which had been here for the weekend has left Boston. The fog has settled in, and it is downright chilly as the Yankees and Red Sox play the rubber match of their three-game series. And the standings, which are posted for one and all to see on the big wall in left field, the Red Sox with an 11-game lead over Toronto, and they're 13.5 games back, the New York Yankees. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Peter Gammons. Welcome to Sunday Night Baseball. And the Yankees tonight, they're going with their best pitcher. If they're going to get started and make another historic comeback out on 1978, you're going to have to start right now. Andy Pettitte has been their best, his ERA 2.51, but he'll have to contend with the likes of David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez, of course. But, Joe, these Red Sox, they get some power and run production from other sources this year as well.
Well, John, when you normally come to Boston, everything starts and ends with Manny Ramirez and David Ortiz. That's their offense. But this year is a lot different. They've gotten a lot of support from Kevin Youkilis and Mike Lowell. Guess who's leading the Red Sox in home runs and RBIs? That's Mike Lowell. And then Pedroia has started hitting. The reason that they're in first place is because they've gotten so much contribution from so many other sources. And, of course, their pitching staff has pitched well, but it's been their offense, to me, that is key this Red Sox 13.5 game lead over the Yankees and 10.5 going into tonight's ball game. So I think if you look at the Red Sox, you have to say the Yankees are going to have a tough time catching them this year.
And Andy Pettitte will probably have a tough time with all that offense. He'll have to be good, though, if they're going to win. Now, Josh Beckett is starting with the Red Sox, and he is 8-0. That's the best start to a season by a Red Sox since 1986, when the Rocket himself went 14-0 at the beginning. Now, Beckett was a disappointment last year. His ERA was above 5, gave up a lot of home runs. Peter Gammons, what's been different this year with Beckett?
Well, John, he reevaluated himself, and with the help of pitching coach John Farrell, just changed a lot of the way he goes about his work. He started throwing, it used to be just high fastball, curveball. Now he throws a lot of two-seamers to change eye level. He throws a lot more change-ups to try to change the hitter's rhythm. The other night against Cleveland, his first 11 pitches, he threw four-seamer, two-seamer, changeup, and curveball, all for strikes. And we all know what he's like when money's on the table. We can remember the 2003 World Series, or we can remember him walking right by the camera.
So Beckett is ready to go. There's been a lot of action already, a lot of bad feeling. 5-hit batsman at Friday's ball game, which was a Yankee win. So the Red Sox and Yankees are about to renew hostilities again.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is presented by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun.
And in part by Excedrin Back and Body. Its dual ingredient formula turns a double play on pain. Stay tuned for this week's Excedrin Back and Body Double Play Getaway Trivia Challenge. And Nationwide. Nationwide is on your side.
Josh Beckett on the hill, taking his final warm-ups as the Yankees are about to come up. Let's take a look at the New York Yankees batting order as turned in by manager Joe Torre. Presented by Taco Bell. Johnny Damon leads off. He's the designated hitter. Derek Jeter having an excellent year at shortstop, hitting .341. Bobby Abreu, after a slow start, hitting better lately. Right field. Alex Rodriguez, great April, not so much in May. Jorge Posada having one of his best years ever, the catcher. Hideki Matsui down to the 6th spot, left field. Robinson Cano, second base, his average is on the rise. Josh Phelps at first base with Minkiewicz out with the injury sustained yesterday. Melky Cabrera is in center field, batting 9th. All up against Josh Beckett, who is 8-0 so far this year.
Well, he's always been a power pitcher in the past, but I think he's starting to pitch a little bit more, using his changeup more and more off-speed pitches. But he always has that 90-plus mile-an-hour fastball that he can throw high in the strike zone and get the hitters to chase it.
Josh Beckett carries the best record that has ever started a Sunday night game on ESPN, Joe. You see, we keep track of that kind of thing. Ken Hill of the Cubs was 6-0 in 1993. The Rocket, pitching for the Yankees, was 5-0 in '99. But both of them lost on Sunday Night Baseball as they carried those unbeaten records. Josh Beckett with the first pitch, strike to Johnny Damon, and here we go. The Red Sox and Yankees from Fenway. Yankees won 9-5 on Friday. The Red Sox with an 11-6 win last night. Red Sox had to come from behind 3 different times yesterday to get that win. And that is a beauty. Strike 2. It's 0-2. And that's manager Terry Francona said before the game. He sort of condensed what's been different with Josh Beckett. He says, number 1, keeping the ball down around the knees. And he said, number 2, maturity. He said in the past he got a little overexcited, adrenaline flowing, and he tried to pump the ball as hard as he could up in the strike zone, and he said big league hitters hit that. This year he made a concerted effort to get that ball down and keep it down around the knees. So we'll keep an eye on that tonight, Joe.
Well, he gave up 36 home runs last year, and he's only given up 2 so far this year.
That's quite a turnaround. 2-2 to Damon. He struck him out. And that was the high hard one.
Well, he can always reach back and get that one, especially with 2 strikes. I think it's great to have the high fastball with 2 strikes. This is not out of the strike zone, but it's up in the strike zone, and Johnny Damon can't catch up with it. And that's the overpowering fastball that he used to beat the Yankees when he was with the Marlins to win the World Series for them.
Now Derek Jeter against Beckett.
Yep.
Beckett is making his 10th start of the year, and he's trying to do something that has not often been done. There's that curveball, a knee buckler. Strike 1 to Jeter. If he wins tonight, he'll be 9-0 in his first 10 games. Marichal did it, a Hall of Famer, 1966. Clemens did it a couple of times, once for Boston and once for Toronto. Just missing. Just off the outside, apparently. 1 ball and 1 strike. Beckett, as you see, only 4 pitchers have started 9-0 or 10-0 in their first 10 starts, going all the way back to 1960. That low fastball, a check swing, a swing. Jerry Crawford, the first base umpire, on the appeal. So now Jeter's behind in the count, 1-2, and he's keeping that fastball down.
Well, that was a sinking fastball. He's throwing 2 different types: the sinking fastball, which is the 2-seamer, and the riding fastball, which is more of a strikeout pitch. The high fastball.
So is that coming up now with 2 strikes?
Well, he turned his finger over, so he wants the sinking fastball. He gets it, gets the ground ball.
And that is Pedroia in the dirt, but pulled out by Youkilis. Out number 2.
And let's take a look at the defense behind Beckett.
Kevin Youkilis at first base has not made an error in his last 102 games, and he's been hitting so well, so I think that overshadows his defense.
And remember, last year the Red Sox set a record for fewest errors in a season by a team. So that has become part of their game. This year they've made 34 errors in the first 54 games of the season. That's way above their total of last year. Or their pace of last year. Bobby Abreu takes a called strike. So he's starting everybody off with a first pitch strike.
Well, Bobby Abreu is going to have to be the guy that gets hot in front, behind Jeter and in front of A-Rod if the Yankees are going to get hot and win 20 out of 30 or have a long winning streak.
Curveball in the dirt. 2 down, nobody on. Abreu at the plate. There's Alex Rodriguez. He would be next. And A-Rod, who's always the center of the affection, shall we say, of Red Sox fans whenever he comes to Fenway, and they've been all over him this weekend, that's for sure. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Going back in left field, Manny Ramirez. On the warning track, and the inning is over. Josh Beckett retires the side in order. A-Rod will have to wait until the second. Now the Red Sox are coming up. Big Papi, David Ortiz, coming up third. Red Sox Yankees Sunday Night Baseball from Fenway Park. The Yankees have been dispatched in order by Josh Beckett, and now the Red Sox are coming up. And let's take a look at the Red Sox batting order presented by Taco Bell. Julio Lugo leads off at shortstop. Dustin Pedroia, he's red hot, second base. David Ortiz, been a long time since he hit a home run. The DH, Manny Ramirez, he's been hot, the left fielder, after a slow start. Kevin Youkilis had his 23-game hitting streak ended yesterday. Mike Lowell leading the club in RBIs, one of the leading RBI men in the league. Jason Varitek, the catcher, home run yesterday. William Opeña in right field in place of the injured J.D. Drew, and Coco Crisp in center field, hitting ninth. All up against the Yankees veteran left-hander Andy Pettitte. 2.51 ERA, Joe, but only 3 wins.
Well, it's amazing how well he has pitched, John. In 11 starts, he's given up 2 runs or less in 9 of those starts. And, you know, he relies on his finesse, and he has some of the poorest run support of anyone this season.
And poor bullpen support. He had some games that he left with a lead, and the bullpen did not hold them. In fact, the last time he pitched at Fenway on a Friday night in April, he left with a 6-2 lead, and the bullpen couldn't hold that one. A ball and no strikes to Lugo, and that fastball is a strike. Now Lugo, that batting average, as you saw, he's only hitting .225, yet he's driven in 33 runs. Well, the Red Sox have some hitters who have not hit well so far, Lugo being one, yet they're beating everybody. Derek Jeter, and Lugo is retired, 1 away.
And that's what you'll see from Pettitte all evening. He sets him up, throws either a cutter inside or an off-speed. That would look like a more off-speed breaking ball there, curveball. But that's what he's doing now, running the fastball away from right-handers sometimes. He doesn't just rely on staying inside, as he did at one time when he was more of a power pitcher with a hard cutter inside.
You see, he's always done well against the Red Sox, 14-6. And actually, his earned run average is a little bit better here than at Yankee Stadium. In 65 innings pitched at Fenway, he's only given up 3 home runs in his entire career. He drops a big curveball in there for a strike to Pedroia. Pedroia hitting .333, had 3 hits Friday and 3 more yesterday, which would endear him to the hearts of Red Sox fans. Now the curve just misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Pedroia has had 21 hits in his last 12 games, hitting .500 during that hitting streak. He's had at least 1 hit in every game. Back out of play.
It's strange. I watch him. He takes a big swing every once in a while on that high fastball. But when we were here the first time, he was struggling. He was in a 5 for 48 kind of a streak. But he said if they could just stick with him long enough, he'd start hitting. And so far, he's been right.
Apparently, he's kind of a character. He's rather outlandish at times for a rookie. Jeter And Pedroia is gone. 2 men gone. Now David Ortiz. And Ortiz has been plagued with a hamstring problem. It put him on the bench for a while. And during batting practice tonight, Joe, he was grimacing a bit. Did some stretches behind the batting cage. Back in the cage and grimacing some more. You think that's about the hamstring?
Well, when I talked to him today, he told me that, you know, his hamstrings were bothering him, but he said the greatest thing was those 2 days off that Francona gave him in Texas, and he's been feeling better. But he said he got dehydrated, and that's how he really, you know, had the hamstring problems. He had the flu.
Curveball from Pettitte, misses, ball 1. Now Ortiz hit 54 homers last year, but he has gone 64 at bats without a home run. It's the longest home run drought that he's had as a member of the Red Sox. He started here in 2003. 2 down, nobody on. And that curve is in there for a strike.
One of the things I noticed when he was taking batting practice today, he was hitting a lot of balls to left field and left center. And he was hitting them on the line. Normally guys who are power hitters, when they hit the ball the other way, they hit a lot of fly balls. But he was hitting line drives. He was swinging the bat very well today in batting practice.
See the shift the Yankees have on for him. Cano, the second baseman, out in shallow right field. Now a fastball off the inside. 2-1 the count. Ortiz has hit all of his home runs this year, and he's hit 9 here at Fenway Park and in Red Sox victories, and only against right-handed, well, not all at Fenway, but all in Red Sox victories, and all against right-handed pitchers. Fastball inside.
And this is the first time during this entire series that they've actually concentrated on staying in tight on David Ortiz. The first 2 ball games they were in off the plate and then going away, but he's thrown 3 pitches inside in this at bat. Maybe they're changing their approach because he's hit the Yankees so well over the years.
3-1. And he fouls it back out of play off to the left. Ortiz, 323 lifetime against Pettitte. 1 homer, though, in 31 at bats. Double checking on Ortiz, Joe. He's hit 3 home runs at Fenway. He hasn't really taken advantage of Fenway for the long ball. Just 3 home runs at Fenway this year. 6 on the road. Time taken.
When you watch him in batting practice, you know, you can tell that his legs are bothering him. He uses his upper body, and that's why I say he was hitting a lot of line drives to left field. But every once in a while in the batting practice, he would crank up, use his legs, and drive one out of the ballpark.
Hit sharply on the ground and handled by Phelps. The inning is over. Manny Ramirez stranded on deck. Alex Rodriguez will be coming up. Then the red-hot Jorge Posada. No score as we head to the second. Alex Rodriguez leads off here in the second inning against Josh Beckett. First ball swinging and a foul. You've got Alex Rodriguez leading the league in home runs, facing the unbeaten Josh Beckett. A-Rod checking his bat, making sure it's all still in one solid piece.
Well, the one thing that Beckett's done, he started everybody off with a strike, and he's thrown the sinking fastball to try to get ahead of everyone. And I think Alex Rodriguez noticed that watching him pitch in the first inning.
Tries the curve and hangs it high. Alex Rodriguez, of course, has been in the center of a lot of off-the-field news this week from Toronto in the New York tabloids, which we'll discuss a little bit later in the telecast. That curveball is over the outside, strike 2.
Josh Beckett has such a great curveball that's why when he was overpowering before, the high fastball, it would start up and you chase it, and then other times it would be the curveball that starts up and breaks over the plate. So it's very hard to determine what the pitch is by his release.
Now the fastball, 90 miles an hour.
And you could see the catcher Pettitte almost stand up because he wanted to make sure that that pitch was up.
Stadium radar gun said 95, and Beckett, 90 miles an hour is not a good Beckett fastball. 2-2. Broken back. Pedroia. And that's it for A-Rod. So a broken bat pop-up. Josh Beckett had to miss a couple of starts with an avulsion on the middle finger of his right hand. With more, here's Peter.
Well, John, as you know, Josh never made 30 starts in a season for Florida because of those blister problems. But they've tried to address that. The cut on his finger was an avulsion. It came from what he said was a faulty baseball in the way he was throwing his curveball. But he cleans it every day. He then dries it every day. He wraps it at night, and he still uses the good old Stan's Rodeo cream to keep the blister away. But he claims it should not be a problem. He had a little little bit of a mental thing to get over on Tuesday night. He's over it. He's fine.
Jorge Posada with a curveball in for a strike. Looks like he's fine.
Well, he's throwing strikes, and that's the key. He stays ahead of every hitter, and as long as he stays ahead with the kind of stuff that he has, he's going to keep these hitters off balance.
And Jorge Posada is a very dangerous hitter right now, in particular, hitting .362. That curveball is too low. He hit a 3-run homer that turned the game around for a while yesterday, put the Yankees ahead. He hit it against Kurt Schilling, leading the league in batting average. Jorge Posada. No score. Neither team has had a base runner yet. The fastball is fouled away. This is the home run that he hit yesterday against Schilling. This club down 3-1.
It was an off-speed pitch, probably a splitter, and he went down and got it and hit it into the bullpen.
Put him ahead 4-3. And they added another run on the Jeter homer to go ahead 5-3, but the lead did not last. That curveball too high.
You know, Posada's had some good years. I mean, he's been an excellent player for the Yankees for a long period of time. But he's never gotten off to a start like this before. You know, in the first half of the season, swinging the bat as well as he is now.
He's had a pretty good series as well. That curveball, now he swatted at that one. Beckett, I think, with 2 strikes, didn't want to get that curveball up there. He had him out of the front foot, and he kept the hands back and shot one right over toward Joe Torre.
Well, you see Joe Torre and the coaching staff staying alive there. And that's the one thing you have to do, whether you're in the stands or in the dugout, keep your eyes on the baseball.
And fastball, pop foul. So he followed up the curveball with the fastball. 2-2. Joe Torre in his 12th season as the manager of the Yankees. They've won 4 World Series, but not since 2000. In fact, Josh Beckett may always bring some bad memories to Joe Torre and the Yankees. Josh Beckett beat the Yankees to win a World Series in Game 6 in 2003 when he was still with the Florida Marlins. That's the only other time he ever faced Andy Pettitte in a game. That one along the left field line. Manny going over, but that is back into the crowd. He didn't have to go back too far to be in the crowd here at Fenway along that left field line. The crowd is practically in the game. Left field. 2-2 the count to Posada, backing it out with Beckett. Beckett pitched that shutout to win that series clincher. He became the 19th pitcher to throw a complete game shutout to win the World Series. One of only 3, however, to do it in the last 40 years, or 3 others who have done it in the last 40 years. Into right center field. Well, Jorge, you just can't get him out. He's going to try for 2. Crisp throw, not much on it. And Posada challenging Crisp on the 8th pitch of the at-bat with Beckett. He turns that into a double.
Well, this tells you when a guy is swinging the bat well. He fought off a couple of pitches the other way, and then he gets the ball down, and he reaches down and pokes it in the right center field. He's not driving this ball because he has 2 strikes, but he reaches out, uses his hands, and hits it in the right center field. That's good hitting because it was a pretty good pitch from Beckett, and he thought he had him set up to put him away with that sinker away, but good hitting there by Posada. But that's why he's hitting .362 starting the game.
His 19th double of the year. He's 3rd in the league in doubles. Here is Matsui. Now Matsui-san is not hitting a long ball, and he's one of the Yankees that they'd like to see get hot. On the outside corner for a strike.
Not only is Beckett throwing strikes on the first pitch, he's throwing quality strikes. He's started everyone with the sinking fastball except Posada. He started him with a curveball and he threw a strike, but he is hitting the knees, inside, outside. He has thrown the ball very well so far.
Josh Beckett ahead of Matsui, 0-1. Base hit could mean a run. Posada the runner at second. Left fielder Manny Ramirez playing very shallow. There's that curveball. Strike 2.
Well, let's take a look at the nationwide K-zone. Curveball right on the outside corner. Excellent pitch. Look at the rotation there. You can see a pretty big hole in it. In the spin of the ball, you can see a hole. That tells you it's a breaking ball as you get the rotation from the seams.
Going to the count. And that's a ball off the outside. Robinson Cano is on deck. Here's how the Red Sox playing defensively. You see Manny very shallow and left. So Fenway, known as a great offensive ballpark, but it can take away some offense, and that's one of the ways. A base hit to left does not often, not a single to left anyway, does not often score that runner from second. And the fastball fouled back out of play.
Normally you play shallow in left field, but I'm a little surprised that Manny's playing as shallow as he is, because I mean there's just a lot of room back there for a fly ball to drop in behind him or a semi-line drive. You can see how deep the other outfielders are in comparison to Manny. You have to play shallow because of the wall, but he's playing awfully shallow.
1-2 the count. Posada got a fast runner to begin with. So Matsui continues to bat. That curve pulled out of the dirt.
The difference is when you're playing as shallow as Manny is, a ball hit to your left or right, you can't charge it. You've got to angle off to cut it off, and that would keep you from throwing someone out. So if he has to go this way or this way, that keeps him from charging the ball. If you're back here and the ball's hit one of these angles, you can come in, charge it, and throw to the plate. But when you're that shallow, if it's hit one way or the other, you have to worry about cutting it off first before you can make a throw to the plate to try to get the base runner, who happens to be Posada in this case.
2-2 the count. The curve in the dirt. Holding at second, Posada, as Pettitte blocked it. A new ball will be put in play. 3-2 the count. So are you in favor of Manny playing that shallow?
No, I don't think he should play that shallow. But the point is, if you hit it right at him, they can't score. But if you hit it left or right, then it makes it tough for him to go angle and cut the ball off and then throw to the plate.
So if he was a little deeper,
he might charge at an angle and then charge
still
and
keep the guy from scoring. 3-2 the count.
But I mean, that's how they choose to play that wall right now.
That's what I'm figuring. Base hit to right field. Willie Mo Pena, and Posada will be held at third. The throw cut off by Youkilis. And the Yankees first and third, one out. Cano coming up. Here's a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update from the studio. Steve with you.
John, Major League Baseball suspended Lou Piniella indefinitely today after his dirt-kicking tirade Saturday. MLB said Piniella made contact with umpire Mark Wegner. He was fined an undisclosed amount. The length of his suspension will be determined on Monday. Anaheim defenseman Chris Pronger got a one-game suspension for his hit on Ottawa's Dean McCammon Saturday. Pronger will miss Monday night's Game 4. Next SportsCenter after the game, ESPN News is on 24/7.
Yeah, Lou Piniella, the Cubs are being managed today by Alan Trammell, and they're 1-0 under Trammell. Their 6-game losing streak ended as they beat Atlanta 10-1. Here, the Yankees trying to win this series, trying to beat Josh Beckett, who is unbeaten this year. Robinson Cano batting with runners at first and third, one out. That one is hit foul. A line shot down the right field line, but foul.
One of the things that could help the Yankees as well is Abreu starting to hit, but Robinson Cano is starting to swing the bat so much better than he was earlier.
Cano hit .342 last year. He rarely walks. Even last year, only 18 walks. He had 482 official at bats. He's only walked 8 times this year, and his on-base average is below 300. First and third, one out. No score. Now time. Just as Beckett started to break from his start, from his set, timeout was granted at home plate. One strike to count. Let's go to Peter.
You talked about, John, the on-base percentage. Talking to Don Mattingly, who is a huge Robinson Cano fan, that's been it. He has been swinging a lot of bad pitches. He's extended his strike zone. But Don says, you know what? He's starting to get it back. He thinks it'll get really hot come the middle of this month.
Well, everybody loves him as a hitter. And he chased that high fastball and lofts it foul off the left field line onto the rooftop. 0-2 the count.
Well, he likes the warm weather also, John, and that's usually he's gotten off to slow starts even the last 2 years. Slow comparatively to his end of hitting 342 last year. He hit 273, 260 in April and May in the past. So this is not unusual for him, but he ended the season so well you would always hope that he'd get off to a good start.
Middle infield, double play deck. 1 ball, 2 strikes, or no balls, 2 strikes. And he tried to put him away with a high, hard one. Fouled back to the screen. Cano hitting only .207 with runners in scoring position this year. So the Yankees, who had a lot of pitching problems and still have, and their hitting was great the first 3-4 weeks of the season, but now their hitting has tailed off considerably. They have several guys, though, Cano included, that you figure at some point are going to get extremely high. Posada at third, Matsui at first, and the hook. Foul tip held by Varitek. Strike 3.
A lot of people, you always talk about getting the curveball down, and I think it works really well when you're a right-hander pitching to a right-hander. But I believe it's easier for a left-hander to hit a low curveball than it is the high curveball. This one's up a little bit, and we saw Matsui go down and get the curveball because I think a left-handed hitters, generally are better low ball hitters, and they're able to go down and get the curveball. And we saw that with Matsui, and right there we saw the ball's not a hanger, but it's up a little bit. And Cano swung over the top of it.
Now, Josh Phelps with 2 out. And it's 0-1. Fastball down and in.
So when he throws the fastball like that, it starts toward the inside part of the plate and it just moves in. I mean, it's awfully difficult for a right-hander to handle that pitch.
Phelps, the 8th hitter of the night for the Red Sox. For the Yankees against the Red Sox, Josh Beckett. And he has thrown a first pitch strike to all 8 hitters. Diving and not getting it. Julio Lugo off his glove, and Posada comes in to score. The Yankees have gone ahead 1-0. Hit very hard, and as it turns out, just out of the reach of Lugo.
Well, let's take a look at the pitch. Fastball. It's not a bad pitch. It's toward the outside part of the plate, and it's not up. You just have to give Josh Phelps credit there. He hit it hard, and Lugo wasn't able to come up with it. Right off the edge of his glove.
Josh Phelps getting the start against a right-hander tonight because of the injury sustained yesterday by Doug Minkiewicz. Minkiewicz is back in New York now, but he's going to be out for anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. Melky Cabrera, and that's too low. So the Yankees have gotten a run. Now Melky Cabrera trying to get him some more. Cabrera, with the injury to Jason Giambi, he's been moved into center field, and Johnny Damon, who's been hobbled with a couple of different injuries, is now the designated hitter. And Cabrera has done well here lately, and that one is a little tap foul off to the left. Cabrera had a 3-hit game here yesterday, 2 hits on Friday. Johnny Damon has also been working out at first base, going back to spring training, and including tonight. And he's got a pretty good tutor out there on how to play first base. The Yankees bench coach, Don Mattingly, who was just a great first baseman. 1 ball, 1 strike to Cabrera, hitting 9th in the order, and a fastball away. 2-1. That was the 29th pitch of this inning thrown by Josh Beckett.
And there's nothing that bothers a manager or a starting pitcher more than what happened there after he struck out Cano to get 2 outs and then to give up a 2-out hit, to Josh Phelps. that really upsets you as a starting pitcher or a manager. I mean, because you think you're out of the jam after you strike the good hitter out, and then Phelps destroys all that.
There's Manny going over, but again, those stands are so close to the field. That ball drops into the crowd. No play for Manny. 2-2 the count. And you see, just behind the infield dirt, it seems like the stands at left field are right out next to the foul line. And on down the line. Great view of the game from those seats, Joe. But you better bring a glove.
Well, that's why I was saying you got to keep your eyes on the baseball when you're sitting in this ballpark.
I'm bringing a glove and I'm bringing bodyguards. That is strike 3 call in the inside corner. The Yankees get a run. Now the Red Sox are coming up. Manny Ramirez, Kevin Youkilis, and Mike Lowell all hot right now.
In a spirit of goodwill towards our competitors.
ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, presented by Taco Bell, brought to you by Chevy and American Revolution, and Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Sunday Night Baseball from Fenway Park. The Yankees ahead 1-0 as Manny Ramirez leads off for Boston against Andy Pettitte. There's ball one, a little bit off the outside. Manny got off to a very slow start for him this year, but in his last 10 games he's hitting .459. 17 hits in those 10 games. And Pettitte drops one in there for a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike to Manny Ramirez. And Manny, who grew up almost within sight of Yankee Stadium, Washington Heights section of New York City, has tormented the Yankees. That fastball is in there for a strike. Joe, he's got more hits, more home runs, more RBIs against the Yankees than any other active player. Got 51 homers and 151 RBIs just against the Yankees in his career. A ball and 2 strikes to Manny. Kevin Youkilis, Mike Lowell to follow. And foul off to the right.
And we're seeing a little different Andy Pettitte than what even the Red Sox saw the last time he was in the American League. He threw that cutter inside a lot to the right-handed hitters. And here's Manny standing there. He's gone away twice to get 2 strikes. Manny looking for that cutter inside. He goes away again. So he's changing his patterns pitching against the Red Sox, even though he's been successful over the years. But I think he was more of a power pitcher then.
Tried to get in. That was up and maybe a little bit more out over the plate than he wanted. Fouled straight back.
Well, the target was up and in. I think it was supposed to waste that pitch, but he didn't get it. And again, now watch where Posada is. See where it is? The target's in. I think it was supposed to be in off the plate, but he got it out over the plate.
Man looked a little upset that he didn't clobber that one. 1-2.
Run back away again.
And a little bit low with the slider. 2-2. Manny's done well against Andy Pettitte. .418 lifetime average. 3 homers. 67 at bats. Wind is blowing in right now at Fenway. Game time at 9 miles per hour. What happened in New England, Joe? Didn't they know that summer's almost here? You know, the weather tonight, it was 53 degrees at game time. A little breeze blowing into the ballpark. There's a lot of fog in Boston. We can't see the downtown skyline from here, which we can always see. It feels like October. 2-2 the count. And he struck him out with the low slider.
He was trying to get it down and in, but he couldn't get that one in, but he still got it down, and Manny was swung over the top. I mean, he pitched him perfectly there. It just kept him off balance. First pitch would be a fastball away. It just kind of pitches him perfectly. Stays outside. And you see all those pitches outside. He was trying to come in. He didn't get it in. Back away again. I mean, you can see where he's pitching. Then he finally gets one where he wants it down and in for the strikeout.
And here's Kevin Youkilis. And the count is 0-1.
I'm so surprised. Euclid had a 23-game hitting streak, but he hasn't walked as much this year as he has in the past because he's been swinging the bat so well. But usually guys that walk do not have long hitting streaks.
And he changed up on him. 0-2. Euclid could not hold up.
And the reason they do not have long hitting streaks is the reason his was stopped yesterday. He didn't get but one official at bat yesterday. He walked 3 times. So I mean, he was swinging the bat so well in that hitting streak that he just wasn't walking nearly as much.
0-2 the count. And he changed up on him again. 1-2. Euclid took his walks yesterday, Joe. Some guys, when they got a long hitting streak, might have swung at a few more pitches.
Well, he's so disciplined at the plate. I just don't think, you know, he would swing at a bad pitch to try to keep a hitting streak going.
And a foul out of play off to the right.
The one compliment that I would give him above all others is that he never wastes an at bat. When you watch him, he doesn't, you know, take a first pitch. He'll just swing the ball and hit a little weak ground ball someplace. He makes sure that he gets a pitch to hit. That doesn't mean he hits it hard all the time, but he never gives himself up early in the count by swinging at a pitch that is not a hitter's pitch.
Broken back on the cutter, and that's going to be a base hit. Wow, he found a hole with that one. So maybe another hitting streak has now begun.
Well, he shatters his bat. That's that little cutter. You can see it running in, and it shatters his bat. But it rolls right in the perfect spot. It doesn't hit the edge of the mound. It bounces over the mound. If it would hit the mound, it would slow down, and Jeter may have a chance to make a play. But see, it bounces over the mound, so it doesn't slow down. Jeter doesn't have a chance to get it.
First Boston base runner against Pettitte. Here is Mike Lowell. He's the big RBI man with the Red Sox. Change up for a strike. Lowell drove in 4 yesterday.
Well, when have you ever come into Boston and either Manny or David Ortiz, neither one of them are leading the team in home runs and RBIs? I mean, Mike Lowell is leading in home runs and RBIs. True, Ortiz has had leg problems, so he's not hitting as many home runs.
Left center field. That one perhaps knocked down a little bit by that wind. Matsui at the edge of the track. And Euclid back to first.
I think that was knocked down a lot by the wind, John, because when he first hit it, it sounded good and it jumped out there, but then it seemed to just hang as it got out to the outfield. And you can see the flag blowing in from center field. High fly ball. The higher the ball, of course, the more the wind's going to knock it down.
As of yesterday, when they were in a game where there were 6 home runs hit, the ball was flying here. It was hot. It was humid.
Well, you mentioned it's cool air. A lot of things are different now. With the air being cool, the ball's not traveling as well, and it's windier.
Here's Veritek, and it's ball 1 inside. Veritek had one of those home runs yesterday against Mike Messina that tied the game in the 6th inning. Hitting .276, 6 homers, 27 batted in. 1-0. The Yankees moved ahead here in the first half of the inning. And a 2-out RBI single by Josh Phelps. That fastball on the inside at the knees for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. The Red Sox, after this game, they're going to fly all the way to Oakland to take on the Oakland Athletics starting tomorrow night. So they got a long night ahead of them. The Yankees will be flying for a game in Chicago tomorrow night against the White Sox.
The one that Roger Clemens was supposed to start.
On the move, Melky Cabrera, and the inning is over. 1 hit, 1 left. Top of the order, Damon, Jeter, and Bobby Abreu coming up. And the Yankees lead the Red Sox 1-0 after 2. Foul pole down the left field line. There's Johnny Damon.
John, this is the second time through the lineup. Be interesting. I thought Johnny Damon may swing at the first pitch there. He started each of the first 3 hitters off with strikes, got ahead of them and was able to put them away. So you don't want to fall behind, but Damon took another strike. But he was starting each one off with the sinking fastball. now he's behind 0-2 again. So Josh Beckett with Damon and Jeter and Abreu all were fastballs that he started them off with first pitch strikes.
Josh Beckett, who had to labor real hard in that second inning, 31 pitch inning. He's thrown 45 pitches already in this game. 2 strikes to count. Backhanded by Lugo. 1 away.
Nice play, nice pitch.
And we're looking back at Fenway, Joe. 1975, Game 7 of that World Series with the Reds. Jim Burton on the mound. The game was tied at 3, and Joe Morgan, base hit into center field. Fred Lynn couldn't get to it, and Ken Griffey Sr. scored the run. The Reds won the game 4-3. That was the final out, and the celebration began.
Everybody, Johnny Bench and I laugh about that all the time. We think that the Red Sox won because all you ever see is Carlton Fitt's home run. So, but the Reds did win that series.
Well, we didn't have that reaction shot of you willing that ball to fall in front of Fred Lynn. Here's Derek Jeter, takes a strike.
And I was talking about the fact that he was getting ahead, not just throwing strikes, but he's making really good strikes. That was a great example there with Jeter. A sinking fastball right on the outside corner, knee high. You don't tack those the first pitch of the bat.
And Beckett been throwing first pitch strikes to everybody. And that one is off the outside. 1 ball, 1 strike to Jeter. He grounded out to second his first time. Well, that World Series is still one of the greatest ever played. Excitement, drama, all through the series. Game 6, and that's the one that kind of bugs you. Fisk hit the home run. Bernie Carbo hit a big 3-run homer. And you hit a double play ball, I remember, that although you hit about 380
let's not say
feet.
double play ball. Let's say it was a great catch, turned into a double play.
Joe hit a 380-foot fly ball into a double play.
Well, it was actually, it wasn't a bad base running that point. It was a hit and run. So, all right, when Griffey took off, it was a hit and run. I mean, you see what I'm talking about here with Beckett. First pitch knee high on the outside corner. Now he runs the fastball in on Jeter. So, I mean, he is doing a great job of keeping these hitters off balance. Let's take a look at the Nationwide K-Zone and see where this pitch is. We saw the first pitch, knee high and away. That one's running in, and watch him pull his hands in, try to get to it. See that? I mean, that pitch it wasn't much he could do with it. I'm sure he didn't want to foul off his foot, but excellent pitch there by Beckett. And that's the difference I see so far in watching Beckett. I mean, he is making so many quality pitches, knee high and away, then running the ball in, and he has a good curveball. We haven't seen it this inning, but he also has an excellent changeup going tonight. He's throwing everything well tonight.
Jammed him. Jeter stays alive. Jeter's hobbling after that foul ball. Still having a hard time shaking it off. Although I asked him before the game, said, anything hurt in particular? He says, no, I'm fine. Which is, no matter what, he could be in a cast and crutches. He said, oh, no, I'm fine. Everything, nothing hurt.
Well, if you're going to play, you need to go out there with a clear mind and be able to concentrate on hitting the ball and not worry about your injuries.
Into the hole. Now Lugo with the long throw. He got it. Strong arm there from Julio Lugo. Let's take a look at our Lowe's home team advantage. We're here at Fenway Park, which opened 5 days after the sinking of the Titanic, April 20th, 1912. And the predecessors of the Yankees, the New York Highlanders, were in town. The Red Sox won that game, named Fenway Park by the man who had it built, John Taylor, the owner at that time. The big wall, the most identifiable aspect of this ballpark, the Green Monster, 37 feet 2 inches high, 231 feet long. Johnny Pesky, who was a great player for the Red Sox back in the 40s and into the 50s, almost never hit a home run. It's only 302 feet to that foul pole in right field. And every once in a while he hit one off the screen there. And they just finally said, well, it's the only way Johnny Pesky can hit a home run is off that foul pole at the 302 side. So they named it Pesky's pole.
John, Derek Jeter was limping noticeably going back to the dugout. We'll have to check on him.
Yeah, he limped. After he hit first base, he was limping. Had a hard time stopping. As Abreu, after taking a ball 1.
And there you see getting some treatment.
1 ball, 1 strike. man, nobody on. Abreu fouls one back out of play. Abreu flied out to left his first time. 1-0. The Yankees out in front.
Well, they're actually looks like they're taping it, and they're taping it to keep it from swelling up. So apparently he didn't hit the foot. It looked like he hit closer to the ankle, the foul ball.
1-2. And that's in the dirt with a changeup. 2-2 now.
Let's take a look at the swing by Jeter. See where it actually hits him. And you can see clearly it hits him above, around the ankle area. And that's what they're doing. They're taping it, and like I said, to keep it from swelling as he continues to play.
2-2. Another changeup. Ray down the left field line. That is going to have to chase this one. Up against the wall. Right near Carlton Fisk's foul pole. And a double for Abreu. So now Alex Rodriguez with a chance to knock in a run here.
I know that was a clear double because Manny, I don't care where he's playing, wasn't going to be able to catch that. You can see what I mean. When he's playing that shallow, he cannot catch anything that's not hit right near it because you don't have time to go back on it. But they're playing this kind of defense, I think, strictly to keep these runners from scoring from second base on singles to left field.
By the way, Yankee fans are hoping that Abreu is going to get going here at some point after a painful stretch for the last several weeks of just no hitting. But he has 5 hits this weekend here at Fenway Park. And it's 0-1 to A-Rod. A changeup again from Josh Beckett. Alex Rodriguez popped out to the second baseman his first time. When we saw the Red Sox and Yankees here at Fenway back in late April, Alex was historically hot. But then in the month of May, after hitting all of those home runs, and he hit them first 3 weeks in April. In the month of May, A-Rod hit only .235, only 5 home runs. He had 14 homers the first 20 games of the year. And the curveball is too low. 1 ball, 1 strike. And they were all over him here at Fenway Park on Friday night, as you might imagine, after he was shown on the front page in the New York Post. And the Daily News picked up the story later in the week. A story not related to baseball. The curveball fouled off and out of play. The count is now a ball and 2 strikes to Alex Rodriguez. And he also was much in the headlines for a baseball play in Toronto where he shouted at the Blue Jays third baseman with 2 out as he was running from second to third, and the Blue Jays third baseman didn't catch the pop-up. The Yankees eventually scored 3 more runs after the inning should have been over. But he was not heralded for that. You seem to get all kinds of flack for that. 1-2 the count, and a fastball off the outside. 2-2 to Alex Rodriguez.
You know, watching Josh Beckett pitch, John, it seems to me that he just seems more composed out there on the mound. He doesn't seem like he's going through ups and downs. He just seems to be in complete control of his emotions, and he's in control of his pitching right now. He's just up against Andy Pettitte, who's pitching as well. Perfect pitch.
Strike 3 call. Abreu stranded at second. Still 1-0. The Yankees leading as we head to the last of the third. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Peter Gammons. We're at Fenway Park. It's a cold evening. Game time temperature 53 degrees. The wind blowing in. Downtown Boston shrouded in fog. It feels like October. Willie Mo Pena leads off for the Red Sox here in the last of the third against Andy Pettitte. The Yankees lead 1-0. And Pena fouls one back out of play. over the roof and onto the streets of Boston. And Peter Gammons, we were talking about Alex Rodriguez and all of the things that have been swirling around him in the newspapers in New York, especially in the last few days. Here's the 1-strike pitch down to Pettitte, and strike 2. There's that fastball up and in, and it's 0-2. And it started with off-field activities apparently in the New York Post, the big headlines earlier this week.
Cameraman Alex around in Toronto. See, athletes now are treated like celebrities. We're in a very different era. I mean, obviously, John F. Kennedy was covered a lot differently than Bill Clinton, and now rich baseball players are essentially covered like, you know, Paris Hilton or Lindsay Lohan, and it's a fact of life that it's a very tough thing to be a very rich, very handsome athlete today.
Pena into center field. That one is hit well. Melky Cabrera. Hey, got it, and he hangs on to it out in the triangle near the 420 marker. What a play.
That was an unbelievable play. I'm watching the ball as it started out. It started out almost straightaway center field, and then it started to slice away from him. And he had, I had thought he had no chance of making this. Watch where it starts off. See, that's straightaway center field. Now watch where he ends up catching this ball. Look how far he had to go toward right center just to catch the ball. Unbelievable play there by Melky Cabrera. I had a straight line of the ball, just started straight away center field, and you could just see it start to curve away from him, and I thought he had no chance of making that play.
If that ball is not caught out in the triangle and starts rolling around near that 420 marker, that's likely a triple. So he made as great a play as you'll see. Coco Crisp has made some good ones. Shows bunt, takes a called strike, a cutter on the inside.
Now watch where this ball starts. Now watch where Cabrera ends up going. He's running far to his left now, and the ball started almost straight at him. It's just an excellent play. Under these windy conditions, the ball was blowing away from him.
Coco Crisp, the switch hitter. And a curveball from Pettitte for a strike. Quickly, it's 0-2. Peter Gammons, we were talking about the headlines in New York earlier in the week involving Alex Rodriguez, and you made the comments, and it's almost like Alex, although he's a baseball player, treated like a movie star, the paparazzi. But what about the Yankees themselves? What about the clubhouse? All of this stuff swirling around A-Rod this week in the New York papers. Has there been an effect in that clubhouse?
Only in the sense of an annoyance. I'm talking to players, they just seem annoyed by having people come up and ask them questions about what do you think about the stories in the New York Post and the New York Daily News. That's it. They're trying to concentrate on baseball. They're losing for the first time in a long time, and they just want to concentrate on the game.
That one is caught in right field by Bobby Abreu, and that is out number 2.
Peter, I think the difficult thing is, where do you draw the line, on what's fair play and what's not. And I think that's what's difficult because, the difference I see when, John, you're talking about celebrities, movie stars, etc. They like to have their names out there. They want their names out there. It doesn't matter. It's the old saying, I don't care what you say about me, just spell my name correctly, because it helps them to sell movies, helps them to enjoy their fame. Baseball players aren't looking for that, so this is difficult for baseball players to handle, and they're not used to, seeing their pictures in the paper, whether it's with, in compromising situations or whatever. But I think it's very difficult for a team, especially a team in New York that's struggling, to have to deal with, these types of situations, and it comes at a very inopportune time, for A-Rod, because now, he's been a lightning rod anyway for a lot of other things that were happening. You were talking about on the field stuff, and then it just carried over to off the field stuff.
Julio Lugo, the hitter, and the count is 2-1 to him, facing Andy Pettitte here in the third, 1-0. The Yankees are leading. So is it, in terms of the actual effect on the Yankees, is it an effect because maybe it affects A-Rod and his game, or is there an effect on say Derek Jeter or Jorge Posada that detracts from their game?
Well, I think it affects everyone that wants to just come to the ballpark, play hard, enjoy the game, and help win. I mean, if that's your mindset, that's all you want to do when you come to the ballpark. Everything you do when you get here is preparing toward helping you to win the ball game, and helping to make your team a winner. And anything that takes away from that becomes, kind of a subplot, so to speak, and you have to deal with it. And you don't like to have to answer questions about your teammate or anyone else. Now, when I talked to A-Rod today, I mean, he was in good spirits, and he said he's going to be all right. He says he's handling it, and he's going to move on. So, and I think that's the key, is how it affects him first before the effect that it has on the ball club. So it's just difficult. I've always said, controversy in New York is like the traffic. It is always present. It doesn't matter when they're playing well.
They've got Lugo picked off, or do they? No, it's a steal. Lugo just took off. Pettitte's throw to Phelps, and it took a while for Phelps to get rid of that ball to second base, and Lugo was already there. So Lugo with his 17th steal of the year.
And Andy Pettitte picks off a lot of base runners, but as you can see, he's a little slower throwing to first base. So if he picks off, see how far Lugo was down the line towards second when the ball got to first baseman Phelps. Because he has such a slow delivery, a lot of times you can just take off with Andy Pettitte like that.
Now Pedroia, who's been so hot, with a chance to knock in a run. And that's a called strike. Peter Gammons, I know you had originally touched on the effect in the Yankee clubhouse regarding all the stuff swirling around A-Rod. Give you another chance to weigh in here.
Well, John, I think it's been an exhausting month. I mean, you have, what's going to happen with Roger Clemens? Is Joe Torre in trouble? Is Brian Cashman in trouble? And then you have a lot swirling around Jason Giambi.
Bouncer over the mound. Cano, the long throw right there. And that is the inning. Well, we'll pick up where we left off, but right now we're heading to the fourth inning. Posada will be coming up, and the Yankees lead the Red Sox 1-0. This ESPN telecast is available on ESPN and in high definition on ESPN HD, presented by Olivia. And a view from the rooftop down the right field line, and people are dressed in their October, November clothing here at Fenway Park tonight. It's cool. I think temperature's going to get down into the 40s, Joe. Plus, we have wind chill factors tonight as Jorge Posada lines one out into right center. Coco Crisp tracks it down, and there is one away.
They're not already down into the 40s?
I think it's
the temperatures.
I think that wind chill's down into about into the teens, Joe.
John, I wanted to say one more thing about the A-Rod thing, and that is baseball players aren't used to their private lives being played out in public. Like you were talking about celebrities in Hollywood and stuff, they're used to that. But baseball players are not used to their private lives being, tabloid fodder and so forth. So it's a lot different. And somewhere along the line, there is a line. I don't know. I'm not saying anybody crossed it or didn't, but there has to be a line there someplace where you're covering sports or you're covering someone's private life.
Now, I don't know that it was such a big story outside of New York.
Well, it was pretty big. I mean, I knew about it in San Francisco. That's as far west almost as we can get. Yeah. And but in
the San Francisco papers, it was like headlines.
No, but it was reported. So I mean, everything's national now. I mean, anything that's anywhere is national, whether it's on the internet or whether it's on sports shows.
Nice play there by Josh Beckett. Matsui, who singled his first time, is retired, and 2 men are gone. Now, there was also the play on the field. Now that we've sort of been doing here Access Hollywood and Entertainment Tonight and whatnot.
Yeah.
Where's Mary Hart when we need her? Yeah. Come on. She's the one who could report this story. But there was the play where a pop-up with 2 down in the 9th inning in Toronto on I guess it was Thursday night. And A-Rod was the runner from second to third, and he shouted at the third baseman as he ran past him. And they didn't catch the ball. And this created a lot of bad feelings in Toronto, especially in the Toronto Blue Jays dugout. Apparently it was Wednesday night, the final game of that series Wednesday. And so there's been all of this discussion about that, whether that was a play, as John Gibbons, the manager of the Blue Jays, said, that was not the Yankees. It was a Bush League play, he said, and not what the Yankees are known for. But now, when you played, was it so unusual for a runner when you were making a play to shout something at you?
No, and I don't think it was that bad. I don't think it was a bad play by A-Rod. I mean, it's unusual, but I mean, the ball was popped up. They scored 2 more runs. I mean, 3 more. They were ahead 7-5, and they ended up winning 10-5. So, I mean, it's A-Rod is a lightning rod. We know that. If that play would have been made by, say, David Eckstein, and they won the game, they'd say, what a heads-up play. You know, I think a lot of things we look at A-Rod do, we look at it differently than we would if someone else made the same play. I mean, it's hard slides in the second base. We look at A-Rod and question whether it was a good slide or not.
Cano grounds out. Beckett gets the put out. Joe Torre will be chatting with us from the Yankee dugout in 60 seconds. The Yankees are leading the Red Sox 1-0. Also, David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez will be coming up. Fenway Park, the home of the Red Sox. Red Sox Yankees having at it 1-0. The Yankees lead the rubber match of this series, and we're joined now by Joe Torre, the manager of the Yankees, from the Yankee dugout.
Hey, Joe, we're having fun yet?
I like the way Andy's pitching. I tell you, Beckett's a handful.
You know, watching Andy, is he any different now than he was before he left?
Yeah, you know, I think he's come back with a little more maturity. You know, he left always being in the shadows of somebody else, and he came back here realizing that he's going to be a leader on this staff, and he certainly has taken on that responsibility.
You know, watching him tonight, it seems that he doesn't throw that cutter inside as much to the right-handers as he did before.
Yeah, he's pretty proud of his stuff, and yet when you look at the numbers compared to some other pitchers who have been successful, you know, he does it strictly on experience, guts, and just not unraveling.
Joe, how about Doug Minkiewicz, injured yesterday? How is he?
Well, I left him a message today. I just told him when he feels up to it to call me. You know, we're going to miss him. Not only the ability he was showing for us, but just the type of grind type player he was, and you know, hopefully he'll be back soon.
Joe, many thanks.
Okay, guys.
Thanks, man.
Let Joe go back to work now. Our appreciation for coming on with us live between innings. Here's David Ortiz against Andy Pettitte. Ortiz grounded out to first his first time.
And Joe is alluding to the fact that there are a lot of pitchers who have better records than Andy Pettitte and haven't pitched as well. I mean, Matt Suzaka of the Red Sox is 6-1 in his last 7 decisions and is at an earned run average over 5. And Andy's only given up 2 runs in the 9 of the 11, 2 runs or more in 2 of the 11 starts he's made this year, and he's still 3-4. So he's pitched well, but his record has not showed how well he's pitched.
He's got the 4th best earned run average in the American League. And the changeup there, tapped foul by Ortiz, strike 2. Now, just to lend credence to what you're saying, Joe, Pettitte's ERA is a little bit better than Josh Beckett.
Yeah, exactly.
Beckett is 8-0. Pettitte's 3-4. His ERA is just a little bit higher than John Lackey. Lackey is 9-3. So he could well have 8-9 wins himself, as you pointed out. And strike 3 call. Wow. And Ortiz can't believe it. Talking to Chris Guccione about that one.
Oh, you see, Francona doesn't think it was a strike either. Let's take a look at the sequence of pitches here. Curveball for a strike. Cutter to fouls. As it says, it's right at the top of the strike zone according to K-Zone.
The high strike. And K-Zone agreed with Chris Guccione. So 1 down, and here is Manny Ramirez. Manny struck out his first time. And a changeup off the outside from Andy Pettitte. 1-0. The Yankees are leading the Red Sox. Kevin Youkilis on deck.
And don't think I was being critical of Matt Suzaka, John, because as you know, I believe wins and losses are how you determine, you know, your pitcher. if a guy pitches just well enough to lose or if he pitches just well enough to win. There is a difference there. And one thing about Matsuzaka, he's a battler out there. He never gives in. He gives up a lot of runs early a lot of times, and then he fights back. And the Red Sox have been able to score a lot of runs. I mean, he's gotten the best run support of anybody in the league.
Into right center field, base hit, Abreu.
You know, that's one of the reasons there is why Manny Ramirez has been such a great hitter over the years. He just adjusted to what Pettitte was doing. Pettitte stayed away from him the first time up when it looked like he was looking for the cutter inside. Now this time he goes up there, and he was going to right field from the moment he got into the batter's box. He was going the other way. Watch the stride. You can see that he's going to right field. See that? Everything is going towards right field. He had made up his mind, Pettitte to stand away, I'm going to go out that way. And that's why he's such a great hitter, because he can make that adjustment. Everyone may know how the guy's pitching you, but they can't make the adjustment.
Now Youkilis, the fastball is fine. Youkilis hit a single, even though his bat exploded in his hands. He bounced the ball right past Pettitte and right through the middle. 353 batting average for Kevin Youkilis. Posada leading the league in batting average. Youkilis is third in the league in that category. In the dirt for a ball. Now Manny thought about taking off, but the ball stayed in front of Posada. Manny went back to first. 1 ball, 1 strike. Mike Lowell on deck. Well, once Ortiz starts rolling, Joe, where he can carry the ball club for days at a time, Manny can carry the ball club the same way, and you got Youkilis and Lowell going so hot. That'd be one of the most feared 4-man sequences in anybody's life. Youkilis hit that one off his foot, and he's in pain.
John, that's the reason that they have an 11-game lead over Toronto, you know, starting tonight's play, is because Youkilis and Lowell have added a lot to David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez. There's that little cutter inside, and it's a strike. And we used to see a lot of this when Pettitte pitched, that slider, a little cutter running in on the right-handed hitters. You can see him trying to get the barrel of the bat out in front. When you're out in front, it's when you foul the ball off your foot.
This is an off the foot. Or above the shin guard.
But when you swing and you try to get the slider out in front, that's when you hit the ball down on your body, because the barrel of the bat's out in front and you hit the top of the ball. You do not do that when you're letting the ball get deep on you, so to speak. If you're hitting it at the plate, it's not going to foul down on your foot, because the angle of your bat is not going to drive the ball down on your left front foot.
Inside, another cutter. It is 2-2. Kevin Youkilis has really started to blossom, and for a long time he was the favorite of guys like general manager of almost every general manager. They all love Kevin Youkilis, a guy who always displayed a sharp eye at the plate, even as a much younger player in the minor leagues. Theo Epstein here in Boston loved him.
Well, the great thing about it for me, John, is his attitude. Remember a few years ago, they would send him up, down. Every time they needed to make a roster move, they would send him to Pawtucket, bring him back, and he never changed. He never complained. He just went about his work, and now all that's playing off. That mental toughness that he showed then is paying off for him right now.
3-2 the count to him. Lowell on deck. And Manny goes back to first. Is Manny running here, down by a run?
Well, it's tough to run on Andy Pettitte because you're not going to get a good jump. I mean, if you feel like Youkilis is going to put the ball in play, okay, but it's not your normal hit and run, because Manny's not, as an infielder, middle infielder, they're not going to have to give their positions up too quickly, because Manny's not going to get a good jump because of Pettitte's great move.
3-2 the count. Now time taken, Youkilis backs away.
I personally do not think you should hit and run with Pettitte, because you're not going to get a good start at first base, and you're not really going to open up a hole for your hitter if the infielders play it properly.
He's had 78 career pickoffs. He should have had number 79 tonight, but Lugo ended up stealing second base, even though he got picked off. Manny with his lead from first. caught by Abreu in right center. And we'll go back to first. 2 down. Kevin Youkilis retired. Peter?
Well, the thing that's interesting about Youkilis, and I remember seeing him play when he was playing in the Cape Cod League as a collegiate, he looked more like Steve Balboni. He's completely redefined his body and used it with his great patience at the plate. Some of the things he does, I mean, Friday night here, Scott Proctor threw a pitch right near his head in the 9th inning. Game was over. He refused to talk about it. He set that one out on the field. I'm not talking about it. And yesterday you mentioned how he came up costing himself the hitting streak by taking one ball after another, and he said to me, you know, I don't care about hitting streaks. I don't want to get outside of what I do. All I want to do is win games. He said, matter of fact, Joe, I think you would have loved it. He said, what is a hitting streak? I'm never going to get to 40 games because I walk too much.
Lowell, the hitter, takes the ball, and Manning will hold it first again.
And that's one of the points I was making earlier, Peter, is that guys who walk a lot do not have long hitting streaks. Guys who walk a lot do not end up with 3,000 hits. You know, Ted Williams, probably the greatest hitter ever lived. He didn't get 3,000 hits. Of course, he missed some time in the Army, but he walked so much. Babe Ruth, he hit 360-something, but he didn't get 3,000 hits because they walked. And you're not going to have long hitting streaks because you only get one at bat sometimes when you walk like Youkilis does. And the guys that have long hitting streaks are guys who do not walk much.
2-0 the count to Lowell. And a changeup for a strike. 2-1. Now for Peter, Theo Epstein could have traded Youkilis probably at 50 different times.
Well, actually, Red Sox ownership once traded him for Billy Beane, but Billy Beane changed his mind and didn't come to the Red Sox as general manager. He was going to be the compensation for Billy, who called him the Greek god of walks.
Now it's 3-1 to Mike Lowell. There's Theo Epstein. And there's Larry Lucchino, who is I believe he's just back from China. And John Henry, the owner of the Red Sox. That's caught and dropped by A-Rod. Picks it back up and still throws out Lowell. 1 hit, 1 left. 1-0 Yankees after 4. In 60 seconds, we'll visit with Terry Francona, the Red Sox manager, from the dugout. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball presented by Taco Bell. On a cold, foggy night in the Fens, the Yankees and Red Sox. Rubber match of this series. 1-0 the Yankees are leading. As we head to the top of the 5th, we're joined now from the Boston dugout by manager Terry Francona.
Well, Terry, I know you're unhappy with the score, but you have to be happy with the way Josh Beckett is pitching. What's different about him this year than, say, last year?
You know what, guys, from day one, he's been, we're seeing a more mature version. Fastballs down and out of the middle and throwing his off-speed pitches for strikes. And when the crowd starts getting loud and the game gets going, he doesn't rear back and throw that belt high 95. He's staying down with movement. He's really turned into more of a pitcher, and he's been good from day one.
Well, it looks like, you've stuck with Pedroia, and he looks like he's paying dividends now. He was struggling when we were here the first time.
Yeah, he was having a tough time, but our organization, in our meetings and all the reports, they said this kid can play, and he's done this at every level, and he never gave up on himself, and he worked hard. You know what? He's a good player. You can't go by his size. He's a good player.
I don't worry about his size. Thank you, Terry.
Okay, yes.
All right. Why would I worry about his size? I kind of like those little guys that play second base.
Well, you're about 6 inches taller than him, I think.
But that's exactly what we were talking about earlier with Beckett. I have not seen him overthrow any pitches tonight. Even when he had 2 strikes, he didn't reach back and just try to blow someone away.
Josh Phelps, the hitter, and a curveball is too low for ball 1. Phelps knocked in the only run of the game with a 2-out single back in the 2nd inning. So the count, 1 ball and no strikes to Phelps. Hitting 8th in the order, Melky Cabrera on deck. Johnny Damon due up 3rd. And fastball is bounced foul. Now, we were talking about Alex Rodriguez, Joe, earlier, and the headlines in the New York papers for the off-field stuff. But the thing that happened in Toronto the other night, on the field, I wanted to talk to you about as a former player and a former infielder, where A-Rod went past the third baseman Howie Clark as he was under a pop-up, and A-Rod shouted "ha" or "hey" or whatever, which we could see on the ESPN on SportsCenter and whatnot. And Clark apparently thought it was the shortstop calling him off and moved away, and the ball dropped untouched, and the Yankees eventually, instead of the inning being over, 3 runs scored, and they won that game. That's strike 2 to Phelps. Now, I would have thought for a Yankee fan, you say, all right, A-Rod. The team had lost 5 in a row, and that helped him secure that win. So sort of a great thing. But it became very, very controversial. Was that the wrong thing for A-Rod to do? Would you agree with that? Or do you think that was not such a bad thing?
I can only speak from experience, John. Guys would run by in front of me when I was waiting to catch a ball and yell, "Hey, how you doing, Joe?" or something. They try to distract you. And A-Rod goes behind the third baseman. He didn't go in front of him. He went behind him, and he yells behind him. So, you know, there's so many unwritten rules, I guess I can't keep up with all of them. And, for instance, what is the difference between that and guys at second base, a ground ball hit the shortstop, he runs in front of the shortstop, hesitates a little bit, and then takes off for third? Or when the guy's at second base on a hit and run, and the second baseman dekes him out like he has the ball, and the ball's in the outfield someplace. So they're just, again, there's so many guys are using the word unwritten rule. There are just more and more of them that I'm not familiar with. You know, one of my favorite things it was favorite now, but at the time it wasn't. When I played second base, I'm standing at second base on a double play, and Bob Watson and Dave Parker always had this habit of coming. "Here I come, Joe, I'm coming," like I didn't know they were coming, right? But they always did that. They'd yell at me. "I'm going to get there one of these days." They'd yell at me. But I mean, to me, it was just part of the game at the time. But like I say, now we have a kinder, gentler game now. So I guess it's a little different. You don't do things like that to upset the opponents. It's like you're not supposed to upset the opposition anymore by, you know, trying to get under their skin or trying to get an edge. Guys steal signs at second base. Is that an unwritten rule? They don't seem to complain about that. They try to steal signs. They have guys sitting in the dugout looking at the third base coach trying to steal signs all the time. So there's so many things that go on in a game, and now they say they're unwritten rules.
Lowell got the glove on that, but Phelps has himself another base hit. This one an infield single to start off the 5th inning. We're going to pick this topic up again, but right now let's go to the studio for a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update with Steve Berthune.
John, Lou Piniella was suspended indefinitely and fined an undisclosed amount by Major League Baseball today after his dirt-kicking tirade on Saturday. The length of Piniella's suspension will be determined tomorrow. Ducks defenseman Chris Pronger will sit out Monday night Stanley Cup Finals Game 4. Pronger suspended 1 game for his Game 3 hit on Ottawa's Dean McCammon. SportsCenter follows this game. ESPN News is always on.
All right, Steve, and here at Fenway, the Yankees with a 1-0 lead over the Red Sox. And they're conferencing on the mound with Melky Cabrera coming up. Lugo, the shortstop, and the catcher, Varitek, over there. But they might be just giving Mike Lowell a little time to recuperate here.
Well, he actually rolls over a little bit on his wrist, but yeah, and then he reaches for it there. You started to reach for it. Watch, see his left hand there, rolls over on it. And that happens a lot of times when you dive for a ball and you do not catch it, just kind of roll over a little bit. So he may have injured his wrist a little bit.
When the National League Gold Glove was a third baseman just 2 years ago. Melky Cabrera smashed right up the middle, base hit. So Cabrera with another hit. With Giambi on the disabled list, Cabrera playing on a regular basis, and that is his 6th hit of this weekend series. And now they've got 2 men on and nobody out, and then we go to the top of the batting order. Johnny Damon with Jeter and Abreu right behind him. Is Damon going to bunt here, Joe?
Well, I would say no, but you know, the Yankees are playing games a little differently now than they did before.
It's Fenway, but it's not a normal Fenway June night. It feels like winter.
Well, the Red Sox think he's going to bunt. Euclid is in at first, and Lowell is in tight at third, so they think he's going to bunt.
Johnny Damon has not had a sacrifice bunt this year. He's not bunting. Swings away, pops it up. Manny, who was playing shadow to begin with, One away.
A lot of times managers do not think of certain people as, you know, like leadoff men. Johnny Damon has been driving in runs throughout his career. He's driven in runs. So you think, well, we have runners at first and second. Maybe he can find a gap and I can get 2 runs and have a big inning rather than trying to just move them over. So it's all a matter of how you feel as the manager.
Well, they're acting much more aggressive against Beckett, who's been throwing first pitch strikes all night.
Well, that's where I wondered the second time around if they would attack the first pitch because he was getting ahead of everyone. And it seems to be work here in the third time around they're swinging at the first pitch.
Derek Jeter, RBI chance here. It's softly. Lugo goes to third to get the lead runner.
Well, his angle of cutting when he charged to cut the ball off, he was going toward third, so it made it an easier play to get the force out at third. He wasn't going to be able to get the double play on Jeter because of where the ball is hit, but you can see his angle is coming here. If he turns and throws to second, he could get 1 out, but he took the 1 out at third base and instead of taking the 1 out at second base. It was a much easier play because he saw Mike Lowell break for third base.
So he was in trouble. 2 men on and nobody out. The top of the order coming up. He got Damon to pop up on 1 pitch, and now he's gotten Jeter to hit into a force play on 1 pitch. And here is Abreu, who has flied out and hit a double. Two on, but now 2 out. Cabrera at second, Jeter at first, and that's ball 1. So to the 5th time that 21 hitters face that he has not thrown a first pitch strike.
And the interesting thing, as I was talking about earlier, he was throwing not only was first pitch strikes, John, they were quality strikes, knee high over the outside or inside. And he started him off with a fastball, but he was trying to make a perfect pitch again, and he missed. So if you're going to throw the fastball first pitch and they know it, you have to make a good pitch with it.
And the changeup too low. Now he's behind it 2-0. Alex Rodriguez on deck. The Yankees ahead 1-0 here in the 5th. I saw you were talking about Alex Rodriguez and that play in Toronto, and you said runners would go by you and holler things and whatnot, trying to distract you. I saw Johnny Pesky, former Major League infielder, played in the 40s and 50s. And Johnny, I asked him about it, and he said, oh, that stuff happened all the time, every day.
Well, it did before, John, but like I said, it's a kinder, gentler game now. You don't want to upset your opponents anymore. That's so I guess, you know, if you look at it that way, it's not the thing to do.
Well, does that mean that it is not the thing to do?
Well, look, I didn't think anything was wrong with it, as I said. I thought it was a good play.
Are the Blue Jays going to throw one at A-Rod the next time they play? And that ball is a little bit low. So now it is 3-1 to Bobby Abreu.
Well, that I don't know. Again, you know, a lot of people have different interpretations of the unwritten rule. I'll give you another example. When a team is ahead 10-0, you don't steal bases on them, right? Because it embarrasses them. But do the home run hitters stop trying to hit home runs? The answer is no, right? So it is what it is.
Abreu draws a walk, and the bases are loaded for Alex Rodriguez. Jeter, when asked about the play the other night, declined to comment on it and told reporters they should ask Alex about it. I love Damon's comment, Joe. I wasn't sure that was allowed. If it is, maybe we'll keep doing it.
Well, I actually talked to Joe Torre today, and he said that he was misquoted. Well, they took it out of context, whatever. And he said that his feeling was that he didn't think it was the right thing for A-Rod to do because he was a lightning rod, and A-Rod's already having problems. So I don't know. I don't think Joe meant it as criticism. In fact, I know he didn't because I talked to him, and he also said he told A-Rod what he said.
So here is A-Rod with the bases loaded and a chance to open up this lead. And the fastball of beauty inside corner at the knees for a called strike. A-Rod has 14 grand slams in his career. And just as you would figure with a good hitter, Joe, he's got a very nice batting average in these bases loaded at bats. But I think the pitcher's the guy who's got to be in the defensive.
Well, definitely. Well, except he threw a first pitch strike. That evens things out. he'd have missed and thrown a first pitch ball, everything would have gone in A-Rod's favor.
Little slow chop. Low, barehanded. Safe, and that one gets by Youkilis. Cabrera already has scored. Now Jeter right behind him. 2-run score, and it is 3-0. Jeter ends up at third. Rather, Jeter has scored, and Abreu ends up at third. So Cabrera and Jeter score. Abreu to third. And it is 3-0. A single for A-Rod and an RBI plus the error.
Well, this is a tough play. He barehands it, and what a lot of people don't understand, when you barehand the ball, you're not really in position to throw it when you reach out to your right. If his shoulders were already turned, now watch this. Let's see where he catches it. His shoulders are not turned toward first base. Now he has to turn and find first base. That's what made that a very difficult play. I mean, it was going, in my opinion, it was going to be a base hit anyway, but that made it even more difficult because when he came in, he had to catch it, reach out to his side, and he didn't have his shoulders toward first base where he was going to throw the ball.
At first base, Youkilis on the bag, and he got hit right in the left knee with that throw. Never got the glove on. So here is Posada, 2 runs in. Well, it wasn't one of his most impressive base hits, Joe, but
and he'll take it right now.
You get the single and the RBI.
And the Yankees will take it. I mean, anything they can do. They need to win this ball game in the worst way. At least that's at least something they can build on.
1 strike to count to Posada, who's hit a double and is lined out to right center. That's a base hit. The 2-out single by the red-hot Posada, the league's leading hitter. Abreu scores. A-Rod will go back to second. And it is 4-0 Yankees.
We talked about how Posada got that 2-strike hit the last time up, ball away from him, and he just reached and poked in the right center. Watch, this ball is inside, and he turns on it. See how he rips through it? He opens his hips and pulls this one. This is a much different swing than the 2-strike swing he had. Look at that. He's generating a lot of bat speed and a lot of power there, and he rips it in the right field because he figured that if he hit the ball away last time, they're going to try to come in, and being a catcher, he knows exactly how you try to get a guy out who's swinging the bat well.
As we saw that pitch with our nationwide K-zone. Here's Hideki Matsui. Runners at first and second. 3 2-out runs have scored. And Beckett throws a first pitch strike over the outside to Matsui. Matsui has singled and hit a comebacker. He is 1 for 2. Rodriguez got his 46th RBI of the year on that slow chop to third. And Jorge Posada knocking in a runner. The Red Sox bullpen is getting busy. The 37th RBI for Posada. Snyder is up in the bullpen for Boston. Kyle Snyder, the right-hander, who worked here on Friday. 0-2 now to Matsui.
Beckett's throwing the ball well, but again, sometimes you have to give the hitters credit. I mean, all of these haven't been sharp line drives, but they've been able to find some holes, and Posada got a key hit with runners in scoring position.
And Bobby Abreu got a walk to load the bases, which has always been part of his game, but hasn't so much this year, where everything has just been all fouled up for Abreu. That curveball hangs very high. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Beckett, by the way, has now thrown 95 pitches already.
And the only thing I see different, John, is that curveball. To throw a tight curveball, you have to have good arm speed and get the good rotation. The last couple he has thrown, they've been rolling. He still looks like he has good movement on his fastball, but that curveball doesn't have the biting rotation that it needs. Yeah, so he's got a good fastball still.
8-man bat for the Yankees. 3-run score. 4 hits, 2 left. 4-0. The Yankees leading the Red Sox. Veritek coming up.
Somewhere in the world, we've sunk a treasure chest. Inside, $50,000 in gold and a key to the one vehicle safe enough to drive the treasure home. The Volvo XC90. Find it, and it's yours. Inspired by Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. In theaters May 25th. Log on now and join the hunt.
Men have become oblivious to the fact that gels are made with 40% water. Now with Degree Men Ultra Clear's advanced protection, there is no wet application. Degree, it won't let you down.
To me, game day is the most important day of the week. It doesn't matter if it's the big game or tossing the ball around in my neighborhood. I believe that my performance is a reflection of how I take care of myself and how I want to live well. GNC Mega Man Sport Multivitamin helps me do just that. It's balanced nutrition in a proprietary sports blend, enhanced with antioxidants, prostate, and heart support, plus key amino acids, building blocks for healthy muscles. Game day starts with my Mega Man Sport Multivitamin from GNC. Live well.
So, you've been going out, huh? Big parties, music, pretty ladies. Son, we need to talk about protection.
Dad, I'm 26.
Yeah, I know. But you're never too grown up for your old man to give you one of these.
Oh, man. Dad, thanks.
Every Coors Light can has a protective liner to lock in that refreshing frost brewed taste.
You can never be too careful.
Frost brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
You're witnessing part of the training program for Citgo employees. It's called Life, where we depend on little things like buttons and paper clips, and on incredible people like firefighters and teachers. Like you, the people of Citgo know how important it is to be dependable, because for generations, we've delivered a steady supply of oil that's helped fuel this extraordinary thing we call life. Citgo, there at every turn.
Fenway Park, a view from the monster seats above the left field wall. And the New York Yankees have a 4-0 lead over the Red Sox as Andy Pettitte throws a curveball to Jason Varitek for strike one. The Red Sox, who at the start of this game were atop the American League East by 11 games over Toronto, 11.5 over Baltimore, and 13.5 over the Yankees. There's a curveball that spins in there for a called strike.
But John, all that said, the Yankees are maybe 6 games, only 6 games, well, 6.5, I guess now, out of the wild card race. So, and there's still 100 and something games to go. So, I mean, they still have a chance to make a move. They do not have to catch the Red Sox.
Base hit to left for Varitek. Well, as Derek Jeter said at the batting cage, he said, the Yankees are not dead yet.
Right, and they're not.
1978. The Yankees were 14 games out much later than this. This is the 3rd of June in 1978. Those Yankees were 14 games back of the Red Sox as late as July the 19th. And they came roaring back and won finally in a one-game playoff, beating the Red Sox.
If they wait that long, it's not going to happen. I'll tell you that. I mean, anything can happen.
Even if they're still 14 out, July 19th.
Yeah, end of July. If they're 14 out, they're not going to catch the Red Sox. But I do believe that they're going to make a run.
Willie Mo Pena, and that's too low for ball one. There's a man in the dugout who was there in '78, and Reggie Jackson, who was also there. He was still working for the Yankees as a consultant. Reggie Jackson sort of pointed to the man now in the dugout as a key to their ability to come back that year. Ron Guidry, who's now the Yankee pitching coach, as Pena takes ball 2. Ron Guidry was 25-3 that year.
Well, he was 12-2 in that run that they caught him, and also the Jim Catfish Hunter was there, and he pitched. I mean, all those guys pitched great down the stretch. It was their pitching staff. So that's what they're counting on if they can get Roger into this rotation, get Roger Clemens, Mike Messina, Andy Pettitte, Wong. If they can get all those guys throwing well, then they figure they have a shot.
Yeah. Guidry was 12-2 from the time when they were 14 out to the end of the year.
Was 10-3, right?
Yeah. Ed Figueroa was 12-2. And that one is too high. Reggie Jackson led the club in homers in that comeback. Pinella led in batting average. Willie Randolph had 20 steals as the Yankees second baseman.
But I think if you ask the Boston Red Sox, they said that was then, and this is now.
And they might be right.
Yeah.
3-1 the count to Willie Mo Pena, who, by all right, should have had a triple his first time up. Smashes one into left field, a base hit. And to second base, the throw by Matsui, not in time to force out Varitek. The ball got to Matsui so quickly, he had a shot at forcing out Varitek at second.
I mean, he's like Gary Sheffield. I mean, he hits the ball so hard, and that ball got to Matsui very quickly. And that's one of those situations where if he was playing in as shallow as Manny was and it's hit right at him, he may have had a shot because Varitek, the catcher, was running. He doesn't run as well as another infielder might.
Now, those 78 Yankees who made that comeback, they were always in the headlines for like these feuding with each other. Somebody was upset with Reggie. So Reggie was kind of the guy, right?
He was A-Rod.
People were always upset with Reggie in the ball club. Reggie was the straw that stirs the drink, after all. Now, Peter Gammons, the story with A-Rod and this pop-up, where do you come down on all of that?
Well, I do think it's different. And then Joe Torre said, you know, he talked to him and you probably won't see him do that again just because of the time. And then Joe went on to relate incidents like he'd go over to the dugout and Gene Mauch would either scream something. I remember Jerry Grody was once punched in the stomach by Gene Mauch when he came over for a pop fly. But today, I know that I talked to one of the Blue Jays players involved. He just felt, look, it's not as big a deal as it ended up being made out to be. He's not going to get beamed the next time they play. But it's just something that right now, that's just something, if you could see someone, for instance, if you're going into a base and you see the player on the slide, that's one thing. This is something else.
The hanging curveball from Pettitte and a base hit to center by Coco Crisp, and the bases are loaded with nobody out, and the top of the order coming up.
Well, this is the way the Red Sox play. I mean, they have a good offensive ball club, and especially at home, when they're down, they're never out. Breaking ball, big curveball toward the outside corner. Wasn't that bad a pitch, but Coco Crisp waited for it and lined it over the head of Derek Jeter.
Varitek at third, Pena at second, Crisp at first, nobody out. The bottom of the order getting things started, and this is where at Fenway Park big innings are often born. Lugo has grounded out and walked. Off his foot, strike one. Lugo is not having a very good year for batting average. He's only hitting .224, but he has 33 runs batted in. He's hitting .291 with runners in scoring position. And for one of the few times tonight, the crowd at Fenway starts to insinuate itself, sensing something big about to happen. After Lugo, Pedroia, the rookie who's so hot, and then David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez. And Andy Pettitte is in a big jam for the first time tonight. 3 straight singles to load the bases. The Yankees hoping for a double play ball. 0-2. And Lugo may have gone out of the strike zone on that one. Sunday night baseball from Fenway Park. The Red Sox trying to thrust themselves right back into this game, trailing 4-0. The Yankees just having put 3 on the board in the first half of the 5th inning. And now the Red Sox have the bases loaded and the top of their order up here. Lugo, the leadoff man. The hot rookie Pedroia on deck, and then David Ortiz behind him. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan and Peter Gammons on a cold, foggy night at Fenway Park. 2 strikes to count to Lugo. Pettitte has been the Yankee ace so far this year. Back to the screen.
Nice swing there by Lugo, because that was a pretty good pitch from Pettitte. He wanted the slider down and in, or the cutter, as we take a look